Resident Evil from 2002 is an interesting tale, to say the least. It's very odd. Paul W. S. Anderson definitely took some liberties with the original source, and didn't really follow what Capcom had originally listed out for the Resident Evil franchise. And you can definitely see that he took some pages from it, but also didn't. It's so fucking weird. Honestly, the film is absolutely fucking weird as shit. And this is probably weird as shit too, so I'm gonna take this off. That's better. Yeah, so Resident Evil is it's very 2002. You can tell that it's very a 2002 film throughout the whole entire thing. It is so fucking bizarre, but also it has like this sense of charm to it. Like, I get why it made money at the box office. Like, I understand why it made money at the box office, but it's got this charm to it. It's definitely it's hard to like encapsulate what it feels like, because it feels like a generic action film, but then at some points it doesn't, and then I'm confused, and then I'm not confused, and then it's like, okay, we're gonna use this weird like device in this to start the movie that will lead into something else, but like it's an odd addition to the source material when it didn't need to be. Like, the Red Queen exists in this film, and it's this childlike AI that tried to like contain everything, but also, why do you need that when like that's just kind of Umbrella's whole thing, when Umbrella is kind of just a secret organization that has everything already contained in itself. And I do like that they use Umbrella as like the big bad guy in the whole thing. Like, use a UBCS stand-in. I don't know if that's what they're called in the movie. But they use that, and they use a lot more like Umbrella lore, and I really appreciate it. I prefer the Umbrella lore overall what's in Resident Evil, just because I like the idea of an evil corporation doing such these heinous crimes underneath everyone's nose. I know that's weird to have that fascination with it. I just like the idea of it. But I like that they use that as like kind of the plot point. Umbrella is like the big bad guy of this film, and in the end it's not even like really resolved, like the Umbrella situation, even though that's what the whole plot is, them trying to take down Umbrella before they get their minds wiped. It's weird. I don't even like know who their employer is. It's such an odd situation because they don't give you anything to be this like self-contained story. Like, there's movies nowadays that ask for sequels, that they set up for sequels, and that's like the main priority is to get a sequel before this main film is, the first film is actually a good film. And I didn't really expect that from a 2002 film, but that's what happened. Like, I know that you can't tell the whole Resident Evil story in one movie, but you can tell at least a story that has a complete thing. Like, Umbrella can be destroyed. Like, in Resident Evil 2, it's destroyed. Not really, but it's destroyed. Like, we think it's destroyed. In the future games, they bring it back, like a recurring bad guy. And same thing with Resident Evil 3. It's that idea that Umbrella just rises again. And I think that's better in the games, and here it's never destroyed. It's just this hive. I don't know what they call it, the hive instead of just nest, because again, I haven't played the original like trilogy in its original form because I don't like how the playstyle is, but I believe Nest is still in those games, so I don't know why they just don't call it Nest. It's a very generic action movie though. It's generic zombie, I should say. It's very action heavy, less horror related, and I think the reason why it's less horror is because I don't really care for the characters besides Michelle Rodriguez's character. Mila Jankovic, I think that's her name, plays the main character Alice, who's just like Ada Wong, because for some reason that's what they went with instead of, you know, just using Ada Wong. They just made a whole new character. Don't know why. But like, I don't like, that's the only person I care about. I think I could care about that because she has this kind of arc around the story. While she's like this big muscle, she has a lot of like feeling, and she's the one who's suffering the most throughout the film, rather than Mila Jankovic, which I think if you're gonna have a main girl, have her have most of the suffering. But you know, in the end, it makes sense. In the end, I quite like the final train sequence, where I feel very Resident Evil 3 vibes. That's the thing about this movie. It captures vibes from Resident Evil 2 and 3, and even 1 a little bit, to like a certain extent. It's never like happy with like going fully into let's adapt 2, let's adapt 3, let's do. It's never happy doing that, but it's gonna take bits and pieces from it and make a new film out of it. And it comes to mild success. Like, it's an okay film. It's a good action film. It's kind of like it's a campy, like, fun, like, date film, I guess. Like, that's the best way I can, like, encapsulate what it is. And it's not a bad film. I enjoyed my time with it. It's not memorable. And that's why I'm like kind of confused why it got why it eventually did get sequels besides the success it made in the box office. And that's the only thing I can tell from it, is that the success from the box office led into being made into more films. I think 6 now with this original series, and then the new one that came out like a few years ago. It's such an okay film. Like I don't know why Capcom let them just like not adapt a game unless they just wanted this to be completely like different and not the same, just because, you know, it is what it is. I wanted to like it more. I did, because it's kind of like this classic action film that people talk about quite often, actually, now that I think about it. Never the sequels. Never the sequels. It doesn't feel very Resident Evil. Resident Evil had this unique survival horror experience in the games, and while they didn't adapt the games for one for one, it never felt like Resident Evil. It just felt like zombies eventually, and I think that's mostly ruined because the beginning, like 20-30 minutes isn't a zombie film. It's an AI escape film. It's really weird. I don't know why it is, but it is. But like, it just is. I don't get it. And I feel like there was such an easy way to make this such a like the games, or like connect them to the games in a way. Like, you could have made Alice Jill Valentine. She looks like her to a certain point. And again, I don't believe that you didn't have to look at the character to be the character. I think they would just embody the character. I think Mila Jovovich is talented enough to fill that role of becoming a different character in Jill Valentine. Or, you know, you dressed her up like Ada Wong, just get Ada Wong. I would prefer age representation. I know Ada Wong comes in later movies, which I think is really odd. Alice dresses like Ada Wong in this movie. That's one big point. Like, I'm just like, why is she dressed like Ada Wong? And in the end of the movie, it leads into the Raccoon City, you know, disaster, which means, okay, that leads into more movies. More game, like, leads into the games, because that's the same thing. The Raccoon City is 2 and 3, and like, but the hive's already destroyed. But is that the nest? Is that a different thing? Is the nest and the hive different things? I have so many questions. I'm wanting to watch the other movies. I'm going to watch the other movies for this channel, just so I can get like an idea of what the fuck is going on, because I'm left with more questions than answers in that movie, and I don't like it. I like it being answered because the games offer those questions, and I think that's the problem I'm having with this movie. Is, well, it's generic enough, and it fills itself within the Resident Evil universe. It does have the same events and same, you know, ideas of Resident Evil. It doesn't like go off the fucking deep end and just change everything. It just asks more questions because of the games that do exist. Because technically this takes place before the Raccoon City disaster, and it's so fucking odd. This movie is 2 separate movies that are pushing the same thing, that have a game connected to them, and it's such a jumbled mess of a generic movie, and I don't understand how we had 5 more movies after this off the same character. It's just so confusing. I'm genuinely so excited to watch. I think Apocalypse is next, just so I can understand where the fuck this goes with it. If it still follows Resident Evil lore, if it just says, you know what, us putting the lore in and asking more questions or offering more questions be answered, fuck that. Let's just, you know, make this a whole new thing. I don't know. I genuinely do not know, and I'm very excited to figure it out. But let me know what you guys think about Resident Evil from 2002. if you find it a charming, generic film, then, I had fun with it. I had fun with it. I just had more questions to be answered because I just don't know what the fuck to make of it without the context of the other films, but with the context of the games, How do you start a review for this movie? I legitimately do not know. So I watched Resident Evil Apocalypse, the second movie of the Resident Evil movie franchise, and I'm genuinely confused even more than I was in the first movie. I was wondering when this took place, or if it connected to the games, or if it was like a side project, like a thing that they would call it Resident Evil. They use the ideas for Resident Evil. They use the prevailing like themes and setting of Resident Evil, but throw their own spin on it, right? Like this cool new thing, and add to the Resident Evil lore. And then this movie starts off with Jill Valentine. Jill fucking Valentine. I was confused because it's like, okay, but Alice was in the last movie, and they've already shown kind of Alice. Like they showed a little bit of like her in the facility. I don't know what the fuck that was. That wasn't the Hive or the Nest. Was it Nest? I don't know. It wasn't either of those. So I'm more confused. It showed Jill, and I'm very excited. I'm like, yes, we need some Jill. I'm very happy. And they show some Alice. I'm like, okay. Now I'm going to be more confused because you have two leading women in this movie. And this is 2004. They're not progressive enough to make two leading women. And then they keep showing like bits and pieces around Raccoon City, which I really do appreciate, like the building up of the setting of Raccoon City more than just RPD and the Nest area. I know that Resident Evil 3 shows up more Raccoon City, but like not fully. Doesn't give us like the full in-depth like perception of where people are, what's happening all around Raccoon City. That's not just where we're at. And I really do appreciate that in this movie. Throughout this process, they show us Carlos. I'm like, oh, we're getting a Resident Evil 3 adaptation. It's awesome. No, the fuck we're not. Even though Nemesis is in this, which he kind of looks dope, kind of doesn't. It's this movie is so fucking weird. It doesn't know what it wants to be. I swear. This is what like. I think there's three types of bad movies. There's movies that bore, movies that don't know what they are, and movies that try too much. I think this movie's trying too much and not knowing what the fuck it is. Because honestly, this movie could have gone two separate ways. It could have been a straight up adaptation of Resident Evil 3, perfectly fine, no problem there. Or it could have been a continuation of Alice's story from Resident Evil 1 from 2002. Perfectly fine, both like versions of that going. I really did not care. But they decided to put both of those together. Yeah. They decided to smush those two together. When it comes to adaptions, I'm not picky when it comes to like one-for-one adaptions or being precise. But they tried to adapt Resident Evil 3 at the same time as making a new story. And I don't like that. Because if you're just going to... Because you're not committing to either idea. And it ends up ruining characters. Carlos isn't a character in this. I swear to God, that I know he's like the male lead in this movie. Genuinely, could have been replaced with anyone else. Could have. Like, no impact. They say his name, they show his name more than they say his name, and he has no impact. No story beat, no arc, nothing. Zip. And we have Jill Valentine, who takes a fucking backseat to Alice. And now, like, that's what really pissed me off, is because Jill Valentine is such a pivotal character inside Resident Evil. Like, literally, one of the big four. Sacred ground you step on. And they make her play backup or come off the bench for Alice. And genuinely, that left a bad taste in my mouth. I genuinely do not like that idea. And Alice is a relatively cool character. I mean, she does a lot of cool shit here. There's little arc in her structure here. There's a little arc in this whole movie. Like it's a point A to point B story, which is fine. It happens all the time. My favorite video game of all the time is a point A to point B story. Of course, there's arcs in between there. But this movie has no arc. It's literally a straight line of aura and hype moments. Genuinely. it is once we get Alice out of the facility and some clothes, which is weird in the first place. She is naked in a lot of this movie. Why is she naked? Why? Why is she naked so much in this movie? She starts the movie with no clothes and ends the movie with no clothes. What the fuck? Just, like, nudity in horror movies is not a new thing. It's nothing new. But this movie did not need nudity, and it has much more nudity than the first one. It's shown, but like very vague. It doesn't like hover on it. But they have stripper zombies or hooker zombies in this movie. There's genuinely a scene of it, and one of our main characters, LJ, which I looked up through the IMDb, tries to pick them up until he realizes they're zombies. That's the thing where I'm like, this movie is trying so much, it's doing so many things, and I don't think it really knows what it is. I genuinely don't know if it knows it's the Resident Evil movie, because it's one of those things where I don't think nudity is needed, ever. Nudity can be used as a tool and used as a device in a lot of movies. Like, nudity is usually used to tell us that the character is vulnerable without telling us anything about their current state. And that's a very powerful thing that's used in a lot of horror movies. But genuinely, either it's a sign of rebirth, like it is in that, I guess that's what they're trying to use the nudity as, is it's rebirth. But again, you have hooker zombies, so I don't trust you. When it comes to that, I think you just wanted to show naked bodies. Bench Jill Valentine, which is what the fuck. Jill Valentine's a very strong female character, one of the earliest versions of strong female characters in gaming. Her, Lara Croft, you know, that's the duo right there. So they just kind of toss her out the window, and she's playing back up, and she gets oral and hype moments every so often, but not like literally. There's a moment in this movie where she's like, "I'm good, but you're better" to Alice, and holy shit, that is, you are putting that person over, to put in wrestling terms, or you are literally putting yourself lower than the other person and giving yourself less credit as a character. So whoever wrote this movie, which is Paul W.S. Anderson, I know that for sure, really did not like Jill Valentine, or really wanted to prop up Alice. And either one, I think, is really bad, because you can definitely have Jill Valentine and Alice on this equal playing field. Honestly, again, like I said, this movie is aura and hype moments for the most part. Have them outdo each other. Have them try to like outdo one another. Simply, that you could have easily done that, and it would have been nice for a nice dynamic. But no. And they end the movie with Alice and Carlos grabbing, not Alice, Jill, and could have been the same character. Literally could have been the same character. I said that, I think, in the first review, that Alice could have just been Jill Valentine or Ada Wong. The end of the movie is like Jill and Carlos taking Alice for this umbrella program, and why? They don't have any friendship. They save each other. Cool. I mean, Alice saves them through fighting Nemesis, which we'll get to Nemesis in a second. I don't believe the friendship. I don't believe the relationship there. There's nothing built here. This whole movie has nothing built. It's, like I said again, it's aura and hype moments. That's all this movie fucking is. There's no arc. There's no characters. There's no in-depth. There's no relationships between the characters. I literally do not know what these people are to each other. Again, Carlos and Jill are like this like flirtatious like little grouping, and that's a great grouping in the games. It's a very nice relationship. I love them in that game, but like no relationships here, none. There's very minimal. Like, hey, you gave me the T-virus. That's what I know you from. I thought the bro with the Bluetooth was gonna be Wesker. Gonna be real. Also, your main villain is wearing a Bluetooth. I don't care if it's 2004. No one looks menacing with Bluetooth in. Genuinely. Don't know why they didn't use Wesker. They kind of threw out the book on Resident Evil 3. Like, they used bits and pieces from Resident Evil 3. But they didn't care. They didn't care to adapt it in a way where it made sense. Nemesis is cool. I like the use of Nemesis. I'll be real. Like, this movie isn't horrible. I don't want to be. I know I'm talking a lot of shit on it, but this movie is not horrible. And Nemesis, I think, is the better part of this movie, because it gives a little bit of emotional turmoil for Alice in this movie. I don't like that it's not just a random dude that's hunting down stars. he does for a split second, and then um, disobeys that command. Like, that's the thing, is that Mr. X and Nemesis and any tyrant is literally like controlled by Umbrella, like to their very last steps. It's like they wouldn't let Nemesis out unless they knew he was fully Nemesis, not have like this like mental baggage of being, I think his name was Matt, but like they wouldn't allow that. And I know that this Umbrella is a different Umbrella and like they do act differently, but still, even in the last movie, they show Umbrella as a competent group that things got out of hand for them, that they didn't understand what they were doing. But in this movie, they just make them look incompetent, like the whole movie. Because the scary thing about Umbrella in the Resident Evil games is that they are competent, that they know what they're doing, and that they are making diligent and purposeful plans to take out certain people, to do certain things. And that's the thing, that like that's the root. Like, this movie generally does not know what Resident Evil is. I don't think it does. I think they kind of played 3 and they were like, okay, cool, there's a lot of aura hype moments in this game, so we're just gonna take that and make this the whole movie. And they don't know the backing of Umbrella or Nemesis or anything like that. Again, I'm fine with adaptation changing a lot of things, but I'm not okay if they're not committing to the ideas of either we're going to throw out the script of what Resident Evil was and use bits and pieces of what Resident Evil is to connect it to it and make a new story out of it. Perfectly fine by me. Like, genuinely, if they were like Resident Evil, or take the zombies, or take Umbrella, we're going to use these settings and stuff like that and make a whole new story with Alice. Perfectly fine. That's why I like the first movie. I know I heard a lot of shit in the first movie, but I like it. I would go back and rewatch it for fun. In this movie, they're like half adaptation, half new story, and now it's ruining things. It's hurting the overall story, and it doesn't make it better in any way. If you want to make changes, make the story better, and it doesn't do that in any way. And it hurts characters, and it hurts everything. It hurts the whole movie by trying to mesh 2 stories together and not doing either of them well. And genuinely, they massacred Jill Valentine's character, which is indescribably horrible in my opinion. But like, I'm struggling to bend my mind around the idea of this movie, because it sacrifices so much of what makes Resident Evil to make a shitty movie. And if this movie was good, I'd be like, okay, they sacrificed a lot, they changed a lot. Okay, I'm not necessarily happy with these changes, but in exchange I got a good product. But I didn't get a good product. And Resident Evil Apocalypse genuinely baffles my mind about how the fuck this got made and how the fuck this cleared either Capcom or higher ups, because again, this movie isn't good. It's not good. It's a bad movie. It's not horrible. I won't say it's horrible, but it's not a good movie at all. It's just a bad movie. Like, horrible in my mind is lower than bad. Whatever. It's just, I don't know. I don't know. And the CGI isn't great. There's a scene in this church with liquors. I think that's what they're called. So they're called. I think they're called liquors. That's what I call them. But like, it's again a lot of aura and hype moments once Alice enters the church. In the CGI, it's like in this weird part where it's 2004 CGI, so you're getting like Doc Ock arms, but worse, because it doesn't have as big of a budget, and no one gives a shit about this movie who made it. And it looks like in this weird like mix between really good and really bad. It's within a second it goes back and forth, and it's odd. But when we get to Nemesis, it has this cool suit, heavy suit though, from what I read, and like he doesn't look like Nemesis per se. Like, he looks like Nemesis's little like bulky, put on a few pounds brother. And again, your limitations when you do practical effects. I love that they did practical effects, but like, he is just lumbering rather than this like thing where I think he could catch up to me in any second, or like be on par with the speed of Alice or Jill. He kind of just feels like he is going to just use his minigun or use his rocket launcher to get to me, and it's just really hard to kill. And they have him fist fight Alice at the end of the movie, and that doesn't sit right with me. Because, like, I know she's has the T virus and Wesker has the T virus in Resident Evil 5. Sure, I get it. T virus can enhance the abilities of the person. Does it for Wesker in Resident Evil 5. They don't show that off here. They don't show what the T virus really does for Alice besides they injected her with it. And again, this movie ends without an ending. It ends with a cliffhanger like the last one, like it's begging for a sequel, and they're asking for sequels before they get to them. And I don't know why, especially because Resident Evil 3 was the last game to come out for Resident Evil at this point in time when this movie was released. Resident Evil 4 was coming out the following year, but I don't think they really knew what Resident Evil 4 was going to do. So I don't know why they were just like, yes, let's jump onto the board. No, I don't understand. This movie makes a lot of decisions that I don't like. It makes a lot of decisions that don't work out for it. Because like even if this was a movie where I was like, yes, it sacrificed a lot of what made Resident Evil, I'd be like, okay, it's still a good movie, and I'd be perfectly fine with it. But it sacrificed a lot to get a bad movie, and generally that's unforgivable. I'm going to watch the next movie because I made a promise to myself to finish this series out. But generally, I'm much less excited to watch that movie than I was to watch Apocalypse, because Apocalypse was like, ooh, Resident Evil 1 was kind of like cool ideas that weren't perfectly done, but had like a setup for an original story in the Resident Evil franchise, and I was excited. And they didn't really do that. For what the fuck reason, I don't know. But yeah, this movie's not good. Don't know what possessed anyone to make this movie this bad and ruin so many characters and not even create a story. Like, I'm serious, there's no story to this. So that means Extinction is next up. 2007 sequel to Apocalypse, I guess. This franchise is so fucking weird. I don't get it. I don't get why they keep making some decisions. It's crazy. But Afterlife is the sequel that takes place in this Mad Max type universe, not Mad Max type universe, Mad Max situation where after the zombie apocalypse has grown so far, it has now dried up everything. How the fuck does that work? And usually, like, shitty science like that, I'd forgive if it was a good movie and, you know, made something out of it. But in reality, it just makes this setting so dry and so druid. It's such a bad setting. I hate it. We're already in Nevada. Nevada's covered in sand. You could just say the zombie apocalypse made climates more volatile than they were before. It's quite simple. I know they wanted to go with the disaster stuff. They had the idea for Vegas. Perfectly fine. Just make the fucking, you know, climate more volatile. Instead of, you know, everywhere is dry. The whole world's dry now. For whatever fucking reason. Like, your science is already faulty in the first place. Just run with something that makes a little more sense in my mind. But yeah. We're still in a zombie apocalypse, which, I don't know, it feels like a background piece. The zombies don't feel any different than one another. They are literally dressed the same. I don't know if they're using the same zombies over and over again, which is, you know, makes sense. You want to make a cost-cutting measure, but none of them look unique in any type of way besides until we get to the Tyrant, and we'll talk about that in a minute. This movie, when I was watching it, doesn't look good. It has this weird black point to it, where like all the blacks and the dark colors are really dark, and everything else is kind of just like the same. It's a weird filter, and it's weird like to look at. It doesn't help this movie looks like shit. It looks horrible. The CGI is some of the worst CGI I think I've ever seen. It doesn't look real. None of it looks real. I don't know if this because like this is like near the rise of the 3D movement, where everything was in 3D, and you're like, oh, let's go see Resident Evil in 3D. Maybe, I don't know, but it looks like shit. So I don't really give a fuck if it was in 3D because it looks like shit on my screen in 2025. Make a movie look good. And even if it like looked decent, I'd give it a pass. It just doesn't look decent. There's like this scene when Carlos like sacrifices himself. Spoiler alert for a nearly 20-year-old movie. He's laying in the back of the truck and he's smoking a joint, and they pull out, which is, you know, could be a really nice shot to see how big this zombie horde is. It could be this nice shot, but it's so fucking weird how they did this shot because you can tell it's a green screen inside the truck, and they pull out, and the rest of the zombies, like the zombies that are on the truck, they look normal. It's just that little box where Carlos is in is such a weird looking shot. It's horrible. The explosions look horrible. The crows look horrible. That one crow shot, it just doesn't look good. This movie isn't Resident Evil as well. And honestly, I don't hate that. Apocalypse tried to do Resident Evil 3 and make its own original story at the same time, but this one went directly for its own original story. It might have inspired Resident Evil 5, because it looks like Resident Evil 5. It's its own original story, which I don't hate. I don't like the story, but I don't hate it. I've been thinking about raising the rating that I gave it originally, just because the story isn't horrible, but it also feels like a mid-season finale for like The Walking Dead. Do you guys remember those? Like, The Walking Dead would have a mid-season finale that would go really fucking hard, and the rest of like the first part of the season might not go as hard, just because they were saving money for the mid-season in the finale. That's what it felt like. It felt like the mid-season finale of The Walking Dead, or a show like that. It honestly, this movie feels like it's made by Sci-Fi. Do you guys remember Sci-Fi films, like the TV network Sci-Fi, not like Sci-Fi like science fiction? It feels like it's made by Sci-Fi. It's definitely more expensive than that, just because of the amount of like visual effects that are in this movie. But it feels like it's made by Sci-Fi, by the story being kind of like fan fiction, but like bad fan fiction, not even like good fan fiction that you'll read on and off. It's just like this weird, like, again, it's not a finished story. None of these movies finish their story, and because like the story is we're going to Alaska. They don't get to Alaska in this movie. They send people to Alaska, but it is never a full story, and it really does bother me in these movies that movie never wants to finish the story it sets up for itself in that movie. It's never a complete 3-act structure. But again, it feels like like I said, it feels like a mid-season finale, and we kind of get that sense of feeling, and I don't hate that. I just wish this was a TV show rather instead, because I feel like it'd be much better as a TV show, expensive TV show, but a TV show nonetheless. But it's rough. We do have some characters that are named that are from the original game series. Claire Redfield shows up. That's Sarah Connor, dude. That's just Sarah Connor. Awesome actress, though. She was in the Final Destination movies, the first 2. I think she plays Clear Waters? Clear Rivers? It's some type of body of water, and it's clear, I think. But she's in those, and so she's also in Legally Blonde. But she's good in this. I like her. She's Sarah Connor, but I don't think they really shied away from that. That's not Claire Redfield, and honestly, at this point in time, watching these movies, I just kind of forget their names and be like, oh, you're a new character. They also have a character named Kmart, but I kind of like that because the explanation of it is very trans-friendly, and I love that. I think it's dope because like it's not like hidden. It's very on the nose. I'm less upset that they use characters and they kind of went a different direction here. Because again, I think I'm at this point in time of the franchise where I kind of just like say fuck it. If you're doing something new with it, might as well. As long as you're not trying to adapt and make a new story at the same time, like I had with Apocalypse, I'm more okay with it. It's just they're not doing that, so I'm happy. I guess that's happy is I'm more okay with it. You know, we talked about Bad Boys last week. How the third act kind of saved that movie. This movie has that third act that saves the movie relatively. Again, I think I might like this more than Apocalypse. I'm really like on the border of that. I talked a lot of shit about Apocalypse in a review, and I really mean it, all of it. And I'm not talking that much shit about this movie, so I'm taking that as I probably like this movie better. Barely, but better. Like the third act, they go into the nest. I'm gonna call it the nest because that's what they call it in the games. I know they call it something else in the movies, but it's a nest. They go to the nest that's set in Vegas. It also has like the mansion. It's a weird setting because I don't understand where this. It makes no sense. Where's Raccoon City set? Jersey? No, apparently not. But they go into the mansion. They had this fight with the tyrant, and the little girl AI shows back up. It's like her sister computer. And honestly, her interaction with Alice is kind of fun. They have a really nice like dynamic. We only get it for a little bit, but it's really nice. It's really cute. It has one of the best lines of dialogue I've heard in this entire series.
I knew your sister. She was a homicidal bitch.
The tyrant fight it's so whatever, man. It's so whatever. The tyrant looks like shit. That's Ian Glenn from Game of Thrones and Titans fame. That's Batman, dude. That guy plays Batman. I think his name is Ian Glenn. I hope I got that right. But yeah, he's whatever. He's a talking tyrant, which tyrants do talk, but like it's in a different way. Cause like he's fully like capable. It's weird. Alice has telekinesis or telepathy. It's some type of thing like that. It's cause the T-virus apparently. What? Why would a virus cause you to develop telepathic abilities? I have no fucking idea. I want them to explain how that happens because it's such a weird fucking insert into this movie, and I forgot about it until now because they show it at the end of the fight. It's just a weird fucking thing to just shove into this movie, where it didn't need to be. Again, the T-virus could be like like basically steroids, where she's got super speed and she has agility. We see that in Wesker in Resident Evil 5. I know that game hadn't come out at this point in time, but seriously, what the fuck? Speaking of Wesker, he's in this movie, but it's the shittiest version of Wesker I've ever seen. That guy is not fucking Wesker. I will never believe that is Wesker. I don't want that to be Wesker because that's fucking horrible. He's a horrible actor. He doesn't really look like Wesker. I fucking hate the way he looks. Because he looks like a rich fucking douchebag rather than, you know, an intimidating force of nature that Wesker is. It's annoying. It pisses me off. It's horrible. I hate it. I fucking hate it, dude. But yeah. We have Wesker in this. Which, you know, apparently we're going to have a confrontation from Wesker against Alice at some point in time. Because she's set on killing the Umbrella group that's in Tokyo. And it's raining. It's wet. I thought everything dried up. If everything in the world dried up, there would be no rain, because that's not how the cycle of water works. Again, it might be because of the fucking ocean. Maybe I don't fucking know. Did the ocean dry up? They didn't show the ocean dried up. But still, like, it's horrible, man. It's a horrible science that you would even try to use. But yeah, Wesker's in this movie, and it's horrible. I hate it. I don't want it ever again. It's gonna happen, though, in the next movie, probably, maybe, who knows. Yeah, but Alice has clones. Speaking of clones, is it just in her contract, Mila Jankovich's contract, to just be naked in every movie? This movie starts with her being naked. I don't understand. I don't get it. It's weird. It's a weird part of this movie. It's part of the series. It's every fucking movie, dude. Like, I don't get why they do it. Like, if it was Mila's idea, sure, whatever. It's not needed. And it's just whatever. But her clone saves her from the tyrant by activating she activates the laser grid, and then her clone stops it before it hits her. I don't know if that was telepathy again, because she has the power to stop it. She just never uses it because she's just accepting her death, and it's a weird plot point, I guess. And there's millions of her clones. I don't know why they showed that. It's not eerie. It's not creepy, because we saw like 14 clones get fucking tossed into the fucking ditch. It's an odd choice to make, and that's the army she's bringing, because she says, I'm gonna bring some of my friends. And I was expecting one Mila Jankovich. I mean, cool, that makes sense, because, you know, she's kind of now important to the fucking franchise, I guess. Sure, whatever. But millions of her, if that's the fucking army she's bringing, I'm gonna fucking kill myself. Like, no. But again, like, the movie sets up a sequel before it even knows if it's gonna be successful, and I hate that, because it doesn't finish the movie. The movie never fucking finishes. It's annoying. All these movies never fucking finish, and I want them to just end. Make it 3 extra, end. That's all you gotta fucking do in these movies. That's all you gotta do. Just end your fucking movie. You never end your movie. Again, like I said, it's a mid-season finale. It's a good mid-season finale, I guess. But like it's better than the last one. It's not as good as the first one. It's just a horrible, horrible fucking situation we're in, where every fucking one of these movies never fucking ends itself. It never ends. It doesn't have a proper conclusion. The beginnings suck in the first place. The endings suck even more. It's a horrible, horrible cycle I'm in right now. I'm 3 movies into this fucking 6-movie franchise, and it's just like I'm going through a fucking dryer cycle every fucking 5 seconds, because the movie never wants to fucking end its own story. You can end a story and continue the story at the same time. That's how sequels work. You have a complete idea, and you end the structure, and you're done. And then you make a sequel based off those same ideas and expand on the story. That's how a sequel works. But apparently, the Resident Evil writers don't know how to fucking make a sequel. It's annoying as fuck, and it's making me hate this franchise more. I love the games. The movies are wanting me to rip out what hair I have left. It's this. I hate this shit, dude. And I like this movie. I don't want to like it. I'm pretty just meh on it. Like, it's not horrible. It doesn't look great. It's not super fun. But it's better than fucking Apocalypse. It's worse than the first one, I'll say that. It's just this weird fucking mix of I don't want to be here, but at the same time you have interesting ideas you're presenting, but you never fucking flesh out those ideas enough where it completes its own story here. It's an annoying cycle I'm in, and I don't like it. But we'll watch the next one. I have to watch the next one now, because I have to know what the ideas they have here, and hopefully they actually finish the fucking story, or they won't, because they have 3 other movies in this. So who the fuck knows? I don't. And apparently, this is like the second highest rated movie in the franchise, on Letterboxd at least. Other ones are slightly lower. So if I might have the same degree of like meh-ness to the rest of the franchise. Who knows? I don't fucking know. As long as it's better than Apocalypse, I'll be happy, because that's what this movie set up, and I'm hoping they continue on that trajectory. I can't fucking speak right now because I'm so fucking pissed. I figured we just go right back to what we were doing beforehand with the Resident Evil movies, at least. It's better. Is it? We're talking about Resident Evil Afterlife. It's okay. So these movies haven't been great so far. Even the first one was kind of just mediocre at best, as I said in that review. And whenever I think about these movies, I just kind of like groan and be like, man, I don't know if I even like these movies, because they're not even Resident Evil at a certain point. I think after Apocalypse, the second one, it kind of just no longer is Resident Evil. It has the strains of Resident Evil. Nothing besides the names make it Resident Evil. It's a zombie thing, sure. It has Umbrella, again, it's a name, and it has the name Resident Evil. That's basically it, and that's all that really ties these games to anything that close to Resident Evil. There's nothing thematic or consistent with the games or anything else that is tied to Resident Evil to make this a Resident Evil thing besides the name. I've kind of been okay with that. I think when we talked about Extinction, I want to say, I was more okay with it. They kind of threw out the idea. It made that movie a little bit better. When I take the ideas of Resident Evil out of these movies, I like them better, and I think that makes this movie a tad bit better. This movie is very bipolar. This movie has 2 identities to itself, and it's hard to like compute this movie, really. This movie is after the Extinction. Everyone's gone off to Arcadia, the paradise that was promised them in Alaska, and Alice is gone to take on Umbrella by herself. And by herself, I mean herselves, because an army of Alices decide to descend upon Umbrella in a crazy fucking scene. It's badly edited. Like, the CG and the editing around Alice herself and her multiples is horrible. It's god awful, but you know what? It's crazy and insane. It's complete bonkers from beginning to end of that set piece. And you know what? Honestly, I kind of love it. I love how they just decided, you know, fuck it, the Resident Evil thing isn't really working for us. We're just gonna go with our own thing and use the name as a marketing thing. And it's batshit insane, this opening scene. It's like a Matrix ripoff, but horribly done. Multiple Alices look horrible at this point in time. I think we just got like to the point in cinema where we can have multiples of the same person on screen and it look really well. I mean, we saw that with like Sinners and all the other movies that have had multiples of the same person on the screen. We finally got good at it. We finally got good at doing doubles and CG properly enough where it doesn't look like this. It doesn't look complete shit when there's the same person on the screen twice. And it does not work. This is a 15-year-old movie. It does not look good in any way. This whole movie doesn't look good. I don't know how much the budgets were on the previous movies, but this movie looks like a B movie at best, and I kind of love it for that reason. The movie has bad green screens, it has bad CGI, and it just kind of looks wonky the whole time. But it has a sense of charm to itself when it comes to those things. Like, yeah, it doesn't look good, but I kind of can laugh at it and be like, this is kind of stupid fun. And that opening scene, again, shows that this is stupid fun. The CG's not great, the backgrounds aren't great. Nothing about it is great besides that it's stupid fucking bonkers fun. That's all it needs to be, and it kind of works in that sense. Wesker in this movie is different than the last actor and has so much more aura. Does he have as much aura as Game Wesker? Absolutely fucking not. But they do take notes from Game Wesker, which is actually really impressive for the series, that they take Wesker and be like, okay, we can take notes from this Wesker, especially because 2009, I believe, was when Resident Evil 5 came out, and they took notes from that. And I mean, that's peak Wesker, so obviously that's where you should take notes from, and it works. It actually works quite well in this movie with Wesker. He's fun. He makes sense. He's this snarky little asshole with not as much aura, but he still has enough aura where it makes sense for this movie. It's equal amounts of aura for the movie itself. That's basically all it needs to be, and that's all it is. And you know what? I can't say I hate that. I think it's actually kind of... I like this Wesker. I don't love him like I do in the games, but I like him in this game. I like him in this movie. He's fun. He's awesome. Alice is still her bland self. She's not great. I'm not like throwing... I'm not going to be like, Milla Jovovich, go! When it comes to these movies, she is never the thing that brings me back to the movies. It's Resident Evil. It's my job at this point, is to cover it. So, Milla Jovovich definitely is not the bright spot on the series, but it is what it is, and I can't really be angry. She does a good enough job. That's all I can ask from her at this point. I'm not expecting a 10 out of 10 masterpiece from her, but you know what? It works for this movie, and that's all I can really do for it. The side characters I really don't give a shit about. These movies are very bad at making side characters meaningful and memorable. Claire meets up with Chris, and this is her first introduction to Chris Redfield. It's the guy from Flash and Prison Break. He's a good actor. Again, these actors are now at the point where it's becoming more of a B movie, more of a TV type movie. Maybe the budget is a little higher than those, but like, we're basically on that level when it comes to these movies. I don't give a shit about them. Again, the name is just there for game recognition at this point in time. It doesn't mean anything to me. That Claire Redfield is not going to be the Claire Redfield I know and love. That's not the Chris I know and love. I don't give a shit. Honestly, I'm waiting for Ada to show up. As you can tell, I'm a big Ada fan. But that's basically all I care about at this point in time. I know Leon doesn't show up in these movies, so I don't really care. I mean, they kind of fucked up Jill already, so at this point in time, I'm just kind of there to see how badly they can fuck it up and to see if it is any good or has any reason to be there. And for a large part of this movie, it's really just nothing. It's a big bag of nothing. There's a lot of talking, there's a lot of negotiating, it's kind of going back and forth. It feels like a Walking Dead episode like the last one did, but to a better degree because it has more identity than just a Walking Dead episode. I just kind of get bored of it. I just kind of don't care at that point in time. Like, it's whatever. It's not horrible. It's not like Extinction or Apocalypse bad where it's like it's a drain on my sanity, these scenes between the characters. It tries to build relationships between the two characters, but again, they're not endearing enough. Alice isn't a notable character besides her cool action scenes to get us to care about the people she cares about. And that kind of comes back when we talk about Extinction. Kmart shows back up in this movie, and she's supposed to be this emotional center point for Alice, and I get that, and I understand what they're going for. It just doesn't really work that well. I like the character, but never gonna be a thing, especially because her name is Kmart. I understand that what they were trying to get at in Extinction, and it's really ahead of its time, and it works really well, but you could have picked a better name. Just saying. I understand what they went for though, and I enjoy the aspect of things, but when it comes to the actual name, I don't think it's very good. But yeah, this movie is kind of just balls to the wall for a good portion of it, slows down, balls to the wall for a little bit, slows down. It kind of just goes back and forth between those two settings. There's no middle points or emotional like stakes in this movie. It's just kind of it's back and forth between these slow moments between the survivors and Alice trying to figure out things that are going on with Arcadia, and giant action. And the action scenes are really good. When the CGI is good, the monster mounts they have in like the last few movies that kind of show up in the games as well, but like to a different point, to a different, you know, amount. And it doesn't look good. It's not gonna look good. But they use it so often that it just becomes distracting. Like if they used it once or twice, I could kind of forgive it. But the CGI in this movie isn't up to par in any way. It's not from 2010 standards, not to 2025 standards, probably not to 2005 standards. It's just kind of a messy point, and I wish they would use the practical effects, which they did with the Juggernaut. The Juggernaut character, I'm gonna call it that. It's a Pyramid Head ripoff, I think. I haven't played Silent Hill, so I don't know yet. That character's awesome. That action scene's awesome. There are scenes in this movie where I enjoy them, watching them. I don't feel like it's a drag on my, you know, fandom from Resident Evil or my criticism. It's a fun action B movie, and that's all I'm asking for these movies at this point in time. With a little bit of like, give me my Umbrella fix, or give me my Wesker fix. Like at this point in time, that's all I'm asking from them, and they're doing it well enough in this movie. I like this the second most. It's right behind the original in the rankings. Again, follow me on Letterboxd. It's not wowing me to a point where I'm like, yes, this is the definitive Resident Evil movie, and I don't know if I'm asking for that at any point. It just is what it is. I'm enjoying it, and it's fun, and there's not much to it. Again, this movie doesn't end. It ends on a cliffhanger with Umbrella just, you know, coming down on Alice and the group, and it feels like that's the ending of the last 3 movies. So I'm really, I hate that the movies still don't end. Like I think I remember in, is it Apocalypse or Extinction? I remember complaining these movies never end. They just lead to the next movie, and that's annoying. I want an ending. You can have an ending and still have sequels. Tons of movies do it. I think every single successful movie franchise has an ending to their arc, to their story, and then the sequel comes around and it adds to that story. It's an additional story on top of it that follows other things, or the same thing, to a different amount or to a different scenario. And this movie is allergic to different scenarios. It's just like, oh, it's Umbrella again. Umbrella's back. Umbrella's attacking. Like, I just don't care. Like, I just end your movie with a proper ending. If they didn't send the Umbrella troops after Wesker's thing blows up, I'd have no problem with it. Then I'd be like, I'd probably be praising this movie even more. It probably would have gained more stars because it had a proper ending to its story. At least to like, or ends this little saga of the Umbrella part of things where Wesker's no longer in charge or whatever. That's all I'm asking for these movies at the point in time, is to have an ending and to be dumb fun. And it's dumb fun, but it still doesn't have an ending. There's no emotional payoff. I don't care for much of these characters. They're fun. It's great. Cool. But these movies aren't really hitting that point of like what they need to do that makes Resident Evil so special. And, you know, it's rough sitting through these and enjoying them. These movies are finally finding their footing with no longer being basically Resident Evil, but being their own kind of fun, dumb things, and using Resident Evil as the marketing gimmick. Great, awesome, fun, cool, but they don't end. It feels like Call of Duty every year. You get a new Resident Evil that just doesn't want to end. It's whatever. This movie's better than the last two. I'll give it that. I had a lot of fun with it. Those 2 big action scenes at the beginning and that Juggernaut fight are awesome. The Wesker thing is cool. I wish there was more Resident Evil and an ending. I don't even know why it's called Afterlife. Is it because it's after she gets healed from the T-virus? Which, cool. They could have done stuff with the T-virus. I really didn't care. The T-virus is known to make people superhuman. It makes Wesker superhuman in this movie. We could have kept the superpowers. I honestly didn't really care for those. Those were kind of fun. But then I think they're trying to make her more human, make her more like, you know, vulnerable. But it doesn't show it in this movie. She's never vulnerable. She gets stabbed once. Great. Ooh. You'll get stabbed in action movies all the time. Especially those little action movies, people get stabbed all the time. It doesn't fucking matter. So I don't know why they did it. Over the last little bit, we've been covering the Resident Evil movies from the 2000s and the early 2010s, and it hasn't been going well, to say the least. Like, it hasn't been the best thing in the world. Is that it was taking, like, established things and making its own story that, you know, ruined the character integrity from those original games. When it got better, when it came to, like, original stories and building its own legacy when it came to things. Like, I liked Afterlife a lot better than I felt like the last few movies before that, because it was trying to build and carve its own legacy out when it came to the Resident Evil franchise and build its own little, you know, lore and build off of that and make something new of itself. It still was very mid in the end. It didn't really, like, wow me. It really just was like this kind of whatever fest. We're in the 5th movie now, and I was starting to get really concerned that it wasn't going to get good ever. And, like, even the first one was kind of just, like, okay to me. Resident Evil Retribution's good. It's a good movie. And I'm not meaning this just as, like, a huge Ada fan. We can see that I'm a huge Ada fan. I love Ada. And she's in this movie. This is our first experience in the movies. But this movie overall is just... I think that at some point in time, Capcom sat down with the people who make these movies and said, hey, here's what we're doing for RE6. And then the filmmakers went, can we take that instead? And you can just, like, you know, make some changes and work with it. And I think Capcom just gave it. Because this is what I wanted from RE6. I played RE6. I did not enjoy that game whatsoever. It was complicated. It was overly long. It was tedious. It was action-packed. But it just overall was not a good time. This movie feels like what RE6 was supposed to be. It's action-filled. This movie is action-packed. It's good action. I think it's fairly good action. I think the action set pieces they have are pretty decent. The CGI hasn't gotten better in these last movies. The green screens are still pretty bad. They're not horrible like they have been in the last few movies, but they're better. The green screens are better. The CGI is not that great. It has that cheesy action film like style to it, and that's, again, not a bad thing. I like cheesy action films. I think they're fun. Takes the ideas from Resident Evil, from the last few movies they built up, and from the games themselves, and kind of built out its little own fan fiction in a way of the franchise. Because I can clearly tell that this Ada and this Leon are post RE4. They talk about Las Plagas, which is awesome. Did not know they were going to drop a Las Plagas reference into here. Do the zombies act like Las Plagas? Not really. That's not really a big problem for me. They're Russian in this movie, but it's whatever. I have no problem with what they did with the characters. It's clearly after RE4. Post RE5, mid RE5, I have no fucking idea when it comes to the timeline. But it feels like they're trying to slot this into a timeline order for the games. And I don't hate that entirely. I think it worked really well in this movie. I think this makes sense for Leon and for Ada. Barry's still alive, I guess, but again, like I said, it takes some liberties when it comes to, like, the fan fiction of everything. It works for the movie. It's an action-packed film that's supposed to be like this finale. It feels like a finale to the franchise, more or less. Of course, they leave it on a cliffhanger because these movies can't fucking finish their fucking storylines, or they start a storyline way too early. They could have started the storyline in the next movie. But again, these games, like, this felt more like the games. It gave me that sense of feeling from the games, and I really enjoyed it. Is it a great film? No, there's still plenty wrong with it. There's still, like, a lot of dry acting from Mila Jovovich. The clones, like, story gets a little complicated here when it comes to, like, Michelle Rodriguez returning from the first Resident Evil movie. I don't remember his name. And then you have, like, the million Alice clones, and it gets overly complicated for no good reason. It doesn't ruin the movie. It just it has that big drawback when it comes to the plot of the movie, because we do take time out of the movie to talk about the clones. There's a good, like, 5 to 8 minute section at the beginning of the movie of Alice playing a housewife with Carlos with their daughter Becky, and that takes us out of the movie for a little bit. It's an interesting way to start the movie, but we knew that we were gonna go back to where we were because this isn't Alice. Like, there was no, like, dream sequence. This was going to be an Alice plot point because Carlos has been dead, but he comes back in clone form. Again, there's a lot of things that complicate the plot throughout this movie.
They don't need to be there. We don't need another Carlos. We don't need the guy from Resident Evil 1. We don't need Michelle Rodriguez. Even though I love Michelle Rodriguez, she doesn't really seem like she like fits in this movie particularly well. The Jill plot point is half-baked. In the games, it's a lot better. It's baked a lot better, but I mean, it's not a really good game. RE5 is still like a mid-game, but it's baked in that game, but it's half-baked here. They take their eyes off of zombies and focus on the Red Queen, which I don't hate. Again, you're taking a step away from the source material to make your own stuff work for the world, and I think it works here. I think it works really, really well. I'm astounded that the 5th entry of this fucking franchise is the best one we've gotten yet, because it feels the Resident Evil game put into a movie. And of course, you're not gonna get the sense of like control you have in those games, but I think it does it well enough where we're just hanging out with the characters that feel like the characters in the game. Our Ada feels like Ada. Our Jill feels like Jill relatively. Our Barry feels like Barry. Our Leon's not great. I didn't know they had a Leon Kennedy in these movies. I knew that Ada Wong came in because I remember hearing about a fact that the original voice actor dubbed over the actress's voice, which is a choice. It works here. It's not distracting at all. What Leon Kennedy here is okay. I appreciate them doing a little Aeon. Aeon's my favorite fucking ship ever. Is it weird for me as a 23-year-old man to start shipping people? Maybe. But they like to play with it. And you know what? I respected whoever wrote this movie. I get you. I see you. I think it's a cute way to do it. Leon is always confident in Ada. Ada is still somewhat dismissive of Leon. I love it. It's very golden retriever, black cat type energy when it comes to the relationship. Even though they only have like maybe 2 minutes of screen time together, it works out really well from like their indirect conversations. Like the characters here make sense. They feel good. They are intriguing. They feel like our characters that we've gotten to know and love over the last few games, but at the same time taking that extra step of crazy that these movies have taken, and I enjoy the atmosphere it creates for the film. The plot's all over the place. The cinematography is better. It's not great. It's not like particularly like outstanding. I think it's not as ugly as the last few films have been. Maybe that's because we take more of a step out to like the urban setting and the Arctic rather than the dust and deserted areas that we've been in for the last few movies. Maybe that's just me. Maybe it's that I just would prefer that look-wise because I don't like the airy, orangey, brownish colors of like the desert that creates in cinema. I'd rather have the neon lights and the contrast with the snow. Maybe that's just a preference thing for me. I generally couldn't hate it. It's not a great movie, but it's a good movie. I'm super surprised we got a good movie randomly out of this fucking franchise when last movies have failed to get to the mark that's more than mid. Even like again, this franchise has been so weird when it comes to how they handle characters and how they build off the Resident Evil lore. It doesn't really like to follow what Resident Evil had set up, and then they take this pivot in this movie where they're like, okay, let's respect what's come here. Like Resident Evil 4 is one of the greatest horror games of all time. Resident Evil 3 is great. RE5 has its good points, and they take all these things from these games that came out in the last few years before this movie, and they expand upon them and they use them to make this like nice finale when it comes to these movies. But it's not the finale. they refuse to leave the money on the table for a better narrative experience because again, this movie has an ending. It ends. And then they add this little tidbit with Wesker at the end. Also, what the fuck is Wesker wearing? they make a BDSM joke for what Alice is wearing. Also, Alice's costume, awesome. Leon's costume, fucking accurate as shit. Ada's costume is accurate to that RE4 Ada. Awesome. Like, I have no problem with their designs. But what the fuck is Wesker wearing? It's this weird, I don't know, I can't explain it. He kind of reminds me of that one meme where the guy's staring at the woman at a competition of some sort and it's like, Mom, I threw up. It reminds me of that meme. I just can't get over it. Also, he's wearing these fucking go-go boots and he's wearing this black like up and down. It looks so weird. I can't place why it looks so off. Maybe it looks too Punisher-like, because Punisher loves to wear those go-go boots. But like comic Punisher, the go-go boots and everything like that, and like the big black like top, and I don't know, maybe it's too buff on the shoulders, and like the rest of it kind of doesn't work out. I have no idea what it is. Maybe they give him shoulder pads. I have no idea. He looks odd. It made me laugh at the end of this movie. But yeah, they end the movie. They have a nice ending to this franchise that they build up. That they can just like hit the big red reset button, like, hey, most of these movies didn't work, but we figured out an ending. Awesome. A lot of things can't make an ending. You can't make a first and second act of this franchise, but you can definitely do an ending at Resident Evil. And you're like, let's give them a little more tidbit. And that last photo of like our main characters, you got Jill, you have Ada, you have Leon, you have Alice, and the little girl Becky, like all on the top of like the White House, and it looks dope as shit. I don't think it's worth it though when you have the ending in your hands, a good ending, like a solid ending. Like if you said this is the final chapter of Resident Evil for these live action movies, I wouldn't hate you for it. I said, okay, cool. Let's hit the reset button. In like 4 to 5 years, we can make another movie, not with Alice, and kind of just fix it. What the last few movies have kind of left a stain on a live-action Resident Evil, because again, this movie fits that. It has that perfect stride of Resident Evil as a game, but Resident Evil as a movie, and it works for both. For like, if you were telling me this was a plot to the RE6, I'd be like, yes, this is RE6 would have been a good story. But it fits our role of like finishing these movies out. It has that perfect mix, and I love that. But I'm scared because I know somewhat of the next movie. It's the final chapter of this Resident Evil sexology. I don't know what it's fucking called, and I don't know if they can land it as well as they were gonna land it with this. They had landing here, and they're like, it's too safe. I don't get why we'd ruin that. But yeah, I think this movie surprised me. It's surprisingly decent and surprisingly good for what these movies have been. I'm pretty surprised that they were able to pull out a decent movie out here. It's currently my favorite. It's not much above. It's half star above the original that we covered last year, March. Holy shit, it's been that long. Oh my god, we're finally here. It's finally here. We're done with the Milla Jovovich Resident Evil movies. This is the final one. The final chapter. I'm so happy to be done with it. I'm so fucking done with these movies. Retribution was really good. It's fun. It knew what it was. It understood what it needed to do. And it understood that characters to a reasonable amount and used them for its own advantage. And I loved that. It did it perfectly. And I have very little to complain about that movie in its entirety. I think it was well produced. It did its job well enough. And I was interested in what the final chapter would be walking in. By killing the best parts of the last movie, Ada Wong is gone. Leon's gone. Who else was fucking there? I don't remember. That end scene with the White House was so like cool and so awesome, and I was like, okay, I'm excited where this leads off. They skip it completely. No on-screen deaths, no action sequence, no nothing. Fucking skipped it. Just like kill those characters off screen. We're done. All the time we took to develop the characters doesn't matter. And that's the kind of the thing with this movie is it like wants to remember the bad parts of this franchise. Like everything with the clones, it wants to like dwell on it. The zombies for a Resident Evil franchise really does not do with zombies well enough, and they really want to focus on the zombies this go around. They focus on the Red Queen, which isn't so bad. Like the Red Queen's been like this consistent thing where I have enjoyed it relatively compared to the rest of the franchise, but like it's still not very high in what I enjoy about the movies. But they want to focus on the zombies. They want to focus on the clones. That's all they want to do. And like the bio enhancements. That is the main focus of this movie. And it's the worst parts of this franchise. The best parts of the franchise are the fun characters and the nonsense action that is paired with this and this melodramatic like fight for humanity type bullshit. In this movie, to fight for humanity in a race against time with shitty action that is edited like I'm on fucking crack.
It is one of the worst edited fucking movies I've ever watched. I get a headache thinking about some of these scenes because I don't understand what's happening because we cut every 0.25 seconds to the next thing. I'm likely putting on screen a scene unedited for you to see how bad it is that I could not understand anything that was happening on screen. Horribly edited. I got a headache from it, dude. It was horrible. I could not get over it. Because it not only happened once, not only happened twice, it kept happening consistently across the fucking movie. If it happened once, I was like, oh, that's rough. That's rough. You know, sometimes movies have those weirdly edited scenes to get around like some production errors. Sure. This movie is consistent production errors across the fucking thing, across the fucking movie. It's horrible on how it's edited. Like if you were an aspiring film editor, watch this movie and learn everything you can from it because it's that badly done. This movie feels like it's taking a lot of inspiration from like The Walking Dead and taking a lot of inspiration from it when it comes to like the desolate lands and the road trip aspect of things of like traveling the country, that type of things that's taking inspiration from. And that's not Resident Evil. The Walking Dead works for The Walking Dead because that's what it's built for that. The Resident Evil is not built for the Walking Dead type narrative. It's built for an isolationist event type thing, not a travel thing. And they do this travel thing and it's a race against time. You have 48 hours to save humanity. Cool. Alright. Why did we skip half of it? She gets knocked out for, I think it was 22 hours or something like that. And then she gets knocked out for another 12. And then she gets knocked out for another 10. It's like the worst fucking like plot contrivance because the time isn't necessary. The plot is based around this race against time, but we don't spend time racing. We spend time dawdling. We spend time doing a normal narrative and having this plot contrivance to like push the narrative forward rather than it being an integral part of the conflict that is here, where she has to choose between her friends or saving humanity because of the time constraints. That's not there. It's literally just to be like, we have to like give her a reason to get there as fast as possible, and that's what they do. And even then, it's like, I don't know why you gave her 40 hours instead of like 24. 24 would have made like, you don't have to skip like 12 to 20 hours or something like that. You don't have to skip that much time when it comes to that. If you shorten the amount of time, you wrote yourself into a corner that you did not have to write yourself into. It's an arbitrary amount of time that you could have said. It could be 36, it could be 24, it could be 12. I really don't give a fuck with how much it is, but you could have worked with it and made it so it wouldn't fuck you over and you had to be like, how do you get from 48 hours to 20 hours? Let's have her get knocked out. No, that's fucking stupid. Ian Glenn returns after his stint with the Game of Thrones and is like, hey, I'm gonna be the main villain again. You killed my clone. Because this movie works on like kindergarten logic where it's like, oh no, you actually didn't kill me. You killed my clone. And we're gonna make that up right now. Oh, you weren't given the T-virus again at the end of Washington, but we're gonna act like you still have the T-virus. Why? And they act like this big mystery of like, who's the other person who owns Umbrella, which, first of all, ownership does not work in the apocalypse. There's no government to like mandate it. Like, ownership doesn't work anymore. It only works in the eyes of the Red Queen. Sure, that's the only thing that works here. But relatively, ownership does not matter. You do not own a stake in Umbrella. Umbrella doesn't exist because there's no like government body recognizing the ownership of a brand or a company. There's nothing that exists to recognize you as a company, so there's no ownership. Because like, a big part of this is that Alice's like prime body, Alicia, or whatever her fucking name was, owns half the company, and she's like been just thrown this aside of the Ian Glenn's character as the other 50% because he killed her dad. Whatever, I don't give a fuck. But ownership does not fucking matter. When your movie sucks so bad that I have to get angry about your ownership law, you've lost the fucking plot. That's how bad this movie gets, is where I'm like, I'm angry because you can't even get that fucking right. You can't get your green screens right. This is the one that's some of the worst green screens possible. This is 2016. This is like, we're past the time of like, hey, green screens kind of looked bad back then. No, they look fine. You can go back and look at a movie from 2016 and they look perfectly okay. But this movie can't get a green screen right. It can't get ownership law right. Guess what? It can't get science fucking right. The whole story takes place about this anti-T virus, or this cure, basically, right? And it's an airborne thing, right? Okay, so to do this, you might think it's like the lizard in Amazing Spider-Man, where you have to launch a giant smoke cloud across the city or across the world, right? In like this projectile type thing, right? You know, a doohickey that's in Umbrella as like a last resort, right? That has to be where the story is going, right? No, Alice walks outside the fucking hive and drops the fucking vial. First of all, she's in a divot. Like, Raccoon City's nuke, like, divot, that's where she's sitting at. She drops in the ground. It's an airborne virus about this big, like, the vial is fairly large, right? The thing about air is that there's still a limited amount of air that exists. There is. They're molecules that we can't see, and then we breathe in, but they're molecules. There's a limited amount of them! So the airborne thing might connect to a few oxygens, but it's not gonna replicate. It's just gonna like disperse and dissipate. Do you know what dissipation does? It stops existing at a certain point. I'm editing this, and here's a better way to explain dispersion. Whoever like use Febreze or like an airborne thing or like a fart, eventually it stops smelling bad. That's dispersion in the air. Eventually it will stop existing or having that same odor. Odor and like a molecule dispersing works the same type of way. This vial cannot cover the entire world's atmosphere in whatever it's fucking called, anti-T virus. I'm gonna call it that. It's a cure. It can't cover the world in cure. It legitimately cannot. Your science does not work. Your story does not work. I'm so angry at this movie for no fucking reason besides that it's horrible. You have had time and time again to end this fucking story. Every fucking movie ends. And then you go like, we gotta do it like a little tidbit at the end to like maybe we can continue the story after that. Like, and I was good with that. I was good with that when I knew those movies ahead of time. And then you're like, okay, here's the final chapter. We're gonna end the franchise. We're gonna kill Alice. We're gonna like blow up Umbrella. Nothing after this is gonna have to, like, we don't have to do anything after this. And you still fuck up the ending. The movie has a cliffhanger at the end where Alice is like, I still have plenty more adventures to go, and it's followed by like this huge bat thing that I think it's like in Resident Evil 4, Resident Evil 5, and it's like, why are you leaving a tidbit? This is called the fucking final chapter. It's like saying that Jason's movie, Jason 4, Friday 4, Jason Ends, or whatever it's called. I don't give a fuck what it's called. I really don't care. That movie markets itself as the ending of Jason, and Jason does end. He's gone for a movie, and then he comes back as a zombie, because it's a plot device after that. But this is the final chapter. You should have killed Alice. You blew up Umbrella. There's nothing left. Why'd you have to leave yourself an out when you call it the final chapter? It makes me so fucking angry that this movie cannot edit well. It cannot. I mean, acting is still kind of shit throughout. Like, Ian Glenn gives a good enough performance. Mila Jovovich does her normal, bland, like, monotone thing. Honestly, I think her daughter, who plays the Red Queen in this, which also, Paul W.S. Anderson, your genetics did not fight back whatsoever. That is, I kind of thought they put Mila Jovovich's like face into like a de-ager back in 2016. It was like, here, it's their daughter, which also, like, that's awesome. The one good thing about this movie, that's awesome. You put your daughter in the movie, this like project that you've been working on for the last 14 years with your wife or girlfriend at the time, or wife at the time. I don't know when they fucking got married. And you put your daughter into the movie. Awesome. I think that's an awesome, cute little detail. But this movie fucking sucks. It's so anger-inducing because you end the movies 15,000 times, and then you're like, oh, yeah, but we like we wanted to make another one of these eventually. And then you're like, okay, we're gonna end this franchise. It's not making us enough money. And then you drop this fucking turd. It fucking sucks. It has a half star. It's getting a half star in this review. Because there's no redeeming factors over it. I can't think of a single thing I've actually enjoyed about this film. Besides when it ended. It's bad. It's bad. Like, I hate this movie so much. Is it the worst movie I've ever seen? Absolutely not. But it's a fucking turd. It sucks. It's horrible. I hated my time with this. And I'm so glad we're done with Mila Jovovich movies. I'm excited to see what Welcome to Raccoon City has when we get to it. But like, I'm so happy we're done. That was horrible. That was worse than Apocalypse. I thought Apocalypse was the worst thing that this franchise could come up with. But no. God. That fucking sucked.